I'm super excited for my guest today, drafted by the Pirates back in 2016, a pitcher now with the Marlins in their organization, Geoff Hartlieb. How's it going, man?
I'm great, man. It's good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to be able to get this done. I wish we had done it in person. No big deal.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
Zoom works, but definitely. How let's just start off with like spring training stuff. We were kind of talking before we jumped on here, but like, how has that whole experience so far been for you? And is it different than any other organization, or they're all pretty much similar kind of things?
I would say spring's been great so far, besides, not being able to participate in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really like it down here. And no, not all spring trainings are created equal. Every team does it a little bit differently. Facilities are different. The time that your workday starts is different. Requirements from each individual player and how much you need to be there and what you need to do, how the veterans go about around the clubhouse, everything like that. And so far with the Marlins, it's been really cool. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a good mix. I know probably everybody says this, but like, it really is like a good mix of guys. Like, they signed some vets. They've had some guys returning. Some guys are making some money, but also there's a lot of youth on the team. And I don't know, we got guys like Johnny Cueto been around for 15 years, and it's on my locker's right next to it. He's my locker.
Oh, nice.
So it's like, it's cool to see watching him throw flat grounds every day when he plays catch, and the command he has, and like how he goes about his business. He doesn't waste any effort. He doesn't, do anything he doesn't need to do that doesn't help his process. And so it's cool to see guys like that and learn from that. And then, we've got a whole new staff pretty much. So I wasn't here last year, obviously, with the old staff, but Skip has been cool. I mean, it's been exciting to see how excited he is. And I really enjoyed being around those guys. And I think what they want to do and how they want to go about it is the right way. And I'm excited to be a part of it. Hopefully I get a chance to be.
Yeah. And how do you kind of like get to know all your new teammates? Because obviously last year, different organization. This year, you're now with the Marlins. Like, have you got to know most of the players now? Obviously, it's a huge group in spring training and stuff. But I mean, how's that been for you?
Yeah, I actually came down here early. And so I was with a lot of the guys who were like younger and who were down here early working, who have been in the organization for a while. And so I got to meet a lot of them that way. And It was a nice way to get an intro to them, honestly, because then when camp started, yes, it was a huge group, but I had already met about half of them, and I had relationships with a couple of them too. So like, it was cool from that standpoint. But this is my third year in a row being like the new guy, going around. And so my first 6 years with the Pirates was just straight Pirates. And so everybody, everybody in the staff, all the players, and it's just like a comfortable feeling showing up. It's like going back to school. You leave for summer break, you come back, it's like going back to school. It's good to see everybody. And then you start going to new teams, middle of the season, or even to start a new year, and learn everybody's name. It's a chore at times, but it's nice because once you start to, you break it open a little bit and you are around these guys every single day, relationships start to form pretty quickly because you spend a lot of time together. And so it's very cool. It's awesome to meet new guys every year. And like I said before, like a lot of these guys they seem like awesome dudes. I've enjoyed it quite a bit, getting to meet them and get to know them.
Yeah, and you talked about Johnny Cueto, obviously, like World Series champ, like he's been around forever, an ace on different teams. Have you been able to like pick his brain, or maybe someone else has been kind of like established longer than you have, and kind of just picked their brain and kind of got to see what's working for them?
Johnny, we got the language barrier going a little bit.
That's
there.
True. That is true.
I speak a little bit of Spanish, and he speaks a good amount of English. He's been around long enough now too. I haven't picked his brain too much. For me, it's more about like him and Sandy Alcantara. Just getting to see how they go about it. It's very impressive. Johnny, like I said, with the way he commands the ball, and he knows exactly what he wants to do. He's been doing it for forever. And Sandy's fresh off the heels of that Cy Young, and body control and the way he can move slowly through his delivery and like, save his arm while throwing, but still get exactly what he needs to out of it and work on stuff. It's a skill that I haven't always had, and I'm still trying to perfect it too. But there's a reason he's as good as he is, and it's because he's so repeatable and he does everything right all the time. And he's an extremely hard worker. So seeing guys like that who've done it and who've done really well and succeed at the highest level, being around those guys every day, I've got a good process. I know what I want to do, but you can always learn something. And so being around those guys is great.
Yeah, I mean, like you talked about those two guys, and especially Sandy Alcantara, like just won a Cy Young, probably one of the top 3-4 pitchers, if not the top pitcher in the NL. What makes him so good? I mean, you kind of just talked a little bit about it, but just kind of looking, like taking a step backwards and looking at it as a teammate, like what makes him such like a dominant pitcher?
I would say, I haven't known him long,
Yeah.
but he's not a guy who's going to jump in front of the group and talk,
Yeah.
but he's going to show you what it looks like to do it the right way. And I feel like guys pretty quickly. I've always been a hard worker, and I think people see that as well. But when he walks in the room and guys look at him, I think it raises the level of everybody else too. Because if he's
Mhm.
working that hard and he's that guy and he's already done all that,
Yeah.
you've got to bring it to that level as well. And I think that's the best thing you could possibly be as a leader for a pitching staff. And the his stats speak for themselves and everything he does like that. But I would say the biggest thing that speaks to who he is as a pitcher is how deep he goes into ball games every time he can. I don't know if anybody went in the ninth inning as many times as he did last year, and he's
Yeah.
probably gonna do the same thing. So a guy like that is you can take a lot of things from him and his process and everything he does.
Yeah, I went to see the Marlins play the Brewers last season, toward the end of the season, and I went there to go see Jake Fishman, who's now with the Athletics, I think, and Brian Hoeing. Both of them have been in the pod, and I'm like, okay, they're probably not even going to get into the game because he was
Yeah,
pitching, and I think he took like a one hitter or maybe whatever it was until like the ninth inning, and then I think they finally, or he might have pitched the whole game actually. I can't remember,
probably
but
did, man. He does it all the time.
I was like, okay, I'm not going to see these guys, and I'm like, he's probably going to pitch a perfect game against us, and he almost did. Like he's incredible, especially in person. Just watching him, it's like, dang, like, that guy's so
He's
good.
bigger than you think he is too. I mean,
Yeah,
the jersey's not always tight fitting, and I don't think his super is, but like he's a big dude. He's tall. He's strong. He is who he is, right?
no, absolutely. So let's kind of get into
Yeah.
your story and background stuff. You have a more unique path toward like pro ball and stuff. You weren't always, that was baseball wasn't always your focus.
Nah.
Kind of give me like a background and like from high school to like, or maybe even younger. Like, when did you start taking baseball seriously?
Um, I would say I started taking baseball seriously, honestly, my second year of college. I mean, and not to,
That's crazy.
just it was what it was. Like
Yeah.
I always played baseball growing up. I played with all my buddies, and then but basketball is what I did full time, year round. I played,
Hmm.
and it's what I fell in love with first. My dad was a basketball coach. I was just always in the gym growing up, and so when it was time to decide to go to college, that was already what I've been planning for, and I signed
Hmm.
early, and I was going. So my senior year, they didn't want me to play baseball. My college didn't want me to. But it was my last chance to play anything with my friends for the rest of my life, really. So I played. I'm glad I did. It was a lot of fun. That season ended, and then I went to college to play basketball, and I did not like college basketball.
Why not?
It was a lot, and burnout. I think just the general that word is used a lot, but like I really just think I got burned out. I fell in
Mm.
love with the game a little bit. The school and what I was told when I was going to go there, it just didn't all come to fruition, and it just wasn't for me. And so I told my parents, I was going to walk away from a full scholarship, and my dad wasn't super thrilled about that prospect. But and I don't now being on this side of it and having
Yeah,
a
you don't
kid
blame
and seeing
him.
how money actually works and stuff. Yeah, I don't blame him at all. But at the time, it was just like I really don't want to do this. But my mom was telling me, and I agreed with her. I did not want to go to school to be a regular student. I would have
Yeah,
had a good job, and that was not what I wanted to do. And
yeah.
so one day, my best friends on campus, Evan McGaffey, one of my teammates from the basketball team, we just season was over, and so we were still at school, and we were
Hmm.
just outside after class one day. We grabbed a couple gloves and a baseball, and we were just throwing it across the quad. And the catcher for the team saw us throwing, and he asked me if I wanted to come out. He said, "You just quit the basketball team, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "You want to come out and throw a bullpen for our coach?" And he's like, "I'll set it all up for you." And I said, "Sure," and I did probably 5 days later or something like that, maybe a week. And they offered me a scholarship to stay at
Oh
school
wow.
and play baseball, but I didn't want to go to school there anymore.
Yeah.
And that was really the first time that I was like, hey, maybe I could play baseball or whatever. And so I reached out to some schools, a couple reached back, but Coach Bletcher at Lindenwood, and they just went from D2 to D1. They were D2
Oh,
when I was
nice.
there. This is their first season being full year D1. So shout out to those guys. But
Hmm.
I he emailed me back within like an hour, and I went down and threw a bullpen the next week. They offered me a scholarship, and then I was going to Lindenwood University, and it was closer to home, and I loved the school. I had a great time there. And my first year, like I said, it was pretty much I just played because I didn't want to get a real job, and I
Hmm.
didn't want to have to do that. And they were paying for part of my school, so it
Oh,
was a
nice.
win-win-win for me. And then we just had some like advisors, reach out to my parents, and our coaches were kind of talking to my parents like, this might be, you know, he's probably our number one like guy we talk to people about when they're going to come watch the team.
Oh, wow.
My dad was just like, I mean, it's a D2 school, so there's not a ton of that coming
Yeah.
in. And I was very raw. I mean, extremely raw. Like I was just chucking the ball, and I could throw pretty hard. Thankfully, that's what got me drafted. But
How hard were you throwing in college?
I was probably around 92 most of the time, but I got up to like 96, 97
Oh, okay.
ish. Just randomly, I would, because my mechanics were so brutal. It was just like they'd all link up once and it'd be 96, and that's what happened. So I got drafted by Matt Beimel, the scout for the Pirates, and I started taking it more serious my second year, once I kind of thought this could be something.
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't think I would get drafted, honestly. I would have called you crazy if you said all this would happen for me, but
Mm-hmm.
it did. And then I got into pro ball and I started taking it extremely seriously, and it kind of took off from there. So it's been, no one really believes me when I tell them I was a college basketball player when I meet these guys for the first time, just coming to new camps and new teams and stuff. But yeah, it's a weird story, but that's how I fell into it.
Yeah, so like, in high school and stuff, you never had any like college visits for baseball or really recruited. You were just pretty much like, I'm going to go the basketball route.
I took one college baseball visit, and that was Lindenwood a week after I started throwing baseball again, my freshman year of college. And I signed 4 days later or something like that. And then I went and played a summer college league that they put me in, and I went to school there. Yeah.
Where did you play summer ball?
I played in the St. Louis Collegiate Baseball League for a year.
Okay.
The next year I went to the Prospect League, and it's all around the Midwest. Mm-hmm. And then I was supposed to go to the Northwoods the year I got drafted by the Mets, but I didn't go. I was just little. I just didn't go to Northwoods, and I probably should have, but I didn't. And it worked out though. All right, I went back to school the next year and got drafted again. So yeah, but I was going to go play up in your neck of the woods. Yeah.
Yeah. We had the Mallards just, I don't know, 20 so minutes from where I live.
I was going to play for is there like a River City team or something like that?
There might be. Yeah, something. I don't know.
There's I mean, I know teams are always changing in those kind of leagues, but I can't remember who I was going to play for.
Yeah. There's several out here, but I mean, really, it's a really good league, and obviously a lot of.
Very good league.
I think it's more hitter league than I think like the Cape's more like pitching. I think that's kind of what I've been told.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah.
So you got drafted by the Mets. Like, what made you not want to go that route? Like, were you just thinking, I can kind of bet on myself and go higher the next year, or what was kind of your mindset heading into that?
Well, like I said, it was still kind of very new, the idea of going to play professional baseball. Yeah. And actually, my mom had just gotten sick and passed away right before that year, or during that year. And so she passed away, and then I came back and I hadn't pitched in a few weeks. And I came back right before playoffs and pitched in playoffs. Mm-hmm. And then the summer started, and I got drafted, and it was just like, my head wasn't in it all the way. Sure. And for a lot of reasons, I just wanted to stay close to my family at that time. Mm-hmm. And I was having a good time that summer with my buddies, honestly. Like the first time I got drafted, we were just sitting in my dad's backyard, and they had like hidden champagne, and we were just sitting there all day messing around. We didn't know if it was going to happen or not. And 37th round just comes across the ticker. They sprayed a bunch of champagne and stuff, and it was cool. It just, I wanted to go finish school, and I'm very glad I did. I needed to go back for another year. I graduated, and I've got that checked off in case I ever need that thing. But
you get a real job.
Those are the main reasons. Yeah, if I ever had to get, I hope I don't. But if I ever have to get a real job, I got the piece of paper as I can, I guess.
What was your degree in?
I knew that question was coming. It's like mass communications, all that hubba jubba, writing, that kind of stuff. I got a couple of degrees actually intertwined in one. It kind of worked out, but
it was like an interdisciplinary studies one or something.
No, it was like something to do with sports that tagged along in there, and like creative writing.
Oh, okay,
I was a pretty good writer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I take like 24 credits my last semester of college just to get it all done. Yeah, in the middle of playing too. It was that was a grindy semester for sure. But I'm glad it's all over with. It's worth it now.
Yeah. So what was like your draft day experience when you get drafted in 2016 by the Pirates, and like how was that different then? Because obviously I'm sure at that point you're expecting to get drafted.
Yeah.
Versus you weren't for.
Exactly. The first year we didn't really know, and it was really cool when it happened. The second year, uh, I was out playing like softball with my buddies, and we were getting calls from like scouts and teams and stuff like that. And I was answering when I was like playing first base in the beer league softball with them. And then the draft came around, and we were at my buddy Tyler Zappia, T-Zap, his house, and he just had a bunch of people over for a pool party. And it wasn't necessarily for the draft, but like it was just that day, and it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
But I got the call at his house, and everyone was there, and we just had a good time
Yeah.
afterwards. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. It's a good memory. But went home that night and celebrated with my family and everything too. And so it was another thing where we were pretty sure it wasn't going to happen, but
Hmm.
I'd never want to make a big deal out of it because it's like you never know. And
Yeah.
on that third day, I don't know how familiar you are with the draft, but
Yep.
it's just like once you get past like the 15th,
Yeah. It's just
16th
a
round,
ticker.
it's just
Just
like
scrolls.
ticker going across. No one's calling you to tell you, they call you afterwards type of thing. Oh, hey, yeah, we took you. So that was what I got. And then don't get me wrong, it's really cool.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those big like, oh, everyone's sitting around waiting, you're gonna be a top 30 pick, whatever.
Hmm.
It's not like that, but it's still a very cool memory.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then you jump right into the minor leagues, which is an absolute grind.
Yeah.
Just a grind of all grinds. I mean, you went to JUCO basketball. Like, I don't know, right? Was your
No,
basketball?
it's not as much nowhere near minor league
Oh, okay,
baseball. Nothing is like minor league baseball, man. You
okay.
can't nothing compares.
Because
It's
I've talked to guys who played JUCO baseball, and like
uh,
I was just talking to somebody. He's like, "Yeah, I'm like, what is your like JUCO ES story?" He's like, "Well, I had to get like a not Anytime Fitness, an LA Fitness membership because our gym was like very
yeah.
small and was never open. And if I wanted
Yeah.
to work out, I had to go to like a local gym." And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. But
Yeah. That sounds about right. I mean, that's not far off of what my first experience was in Bristol, Tennessee / Virginia. It's a city that's split by the borders.
yeah.
It shares both sides, and yeah, that was low level rookie ball back then. There were like 7 or 8 levels, and I was on the seventh, so like or the sixth or the seventh, like at the bottom.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was chicken coop lockers, some gross showers, playing on they have a lot of pride for that team in that city.
Hmm.
It's no longer a team that took away all that, but
Mm.
it was you go from my high school field was nicer than that field
Yeah.
whenever we were going to play on it in
I
pro ball,
believe
and
it.
it's a very humbling like, dude, where am I? Like, what did I sign up for? Type feeling. But some of the best memories from baseball come from those first couple years playing because you make such good friendships with the guys you get drafted with, and you're going through the same craft together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sucks a lot of times, and you're not making any money, and there's a lot of reasons to complain about stuff. And guys do, don't get me wrong, we all do. I
Yeah.
did too. But looking back on it now, I mean, it's cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
It was fun, despite everything that happened.
What is one city you get off the bus, you just look around, you're like, dude, where am I? I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's like cornfields or like there's like a nothing out, nothing around. It's just empty.
Hickory, North Carolina is one out right off the top of the head. There's not a lot going on in Hickory, North Carolina. I mean, dude, if I sat here long enough, I could. Bluefield, Virginia, low rookie. Princeton, West Virginia, where the Rays low rookie was. Like Johnson City, Tennessee. Like there's just not. There's a lot of cities that you play lower level minor league baseball in where there's not much going on besides minor league baseball in the summer. And
Yeah.
it's cool because fans come out and it's they enjoy the team and everything, but there's nothing to do besides what you're there to do, which is probably good for a lot of guys in the way after
Sure.
the game what they're going to go do, stuff like that. But
Options are limited.
exactly, it's Taco Bell and McDonald's and back to the house. So that's minor league baseball though. It's changed a lot since I
Yeah.
was at those lower levels. They've cut out some levels. The standards are rising to what they have to
Hmm.
do for players, and it's getting a lot better, and that's for the better for
Yeah.
everyone. I'm past that point in my career where those things aren't ever going to affect me, but
Right.
I think it's right. It needs to happen. I'm behind what's all happening with those guys,
Hmm.
and I'm a part of it, and it's exciting for them. It's nice that they play these 6 week or 6 day series now where
Yep.
you go to one spot, and it's a lot easier with my family now. So I'm very grateful for that when I'm in AAA. But like when I first got into pro ball, man, it was, you play 6 games at home against 2 different teams, no off day for 35, 40 days straight sometimes. You're hopping on a bus for 12 hours through the night,
Hmm.
sharing a seat. You'll get there at 9 a.m. You go sleep in your hotel for 3 hours. You go to the field. You play three. You hop on a bus and go 7 hours, go somewhere else, do the same damn thing again, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't miss those days in terms of that, but you find out what you're made of doing stuff like that, and there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. It's you make sure you want to be there and you're doing it for the right reasons, and yeah, it makes a man out of you for sure.
How did you balance? And I mean, obviously, you made it to the major, so this worked for you. But how did you balance like development, because you always want to develop and become a better player, but also performance because you want to outperform everyone else because you want to get that call up? I mean, you're a team, but at the same time, you're kind of competing against everyone else.
Yeah, I think it's different for different levels of guys, and you can put them into categories like when they're drafted. First round to fifth round type guys, there's a lot more things. Opportunities are bountiful. They could mess up 4 or 5 years in a row, and it's they gave them a certain amount of money, so they're going to keep getting those chances. And they got drafted from that high for a reason. They're very skilled guys. In the middle rounds, a little bit more leeway, but not a lot. And then you get down to the past the 20th round or so, and I was 29th rounder with the Pirates. Sink or swim, baby. And so that's kind of the mentality I took with it when I got into pro ball. I worked construction that first off season to just make more money to pay for my training, and I dove all in. I told myself and my then girlfriend, my now wife, I was going to give it 2 years, and then I would know at that point if I had a chance or not. And I showed back up after working with some guys in St. Louis, P3, and they got me right. And I showed up showing 98, and I was a different guy than I got drafted. That first short season, I was throwing like mainly 92, 93, 94 maybe. And then I came back and I got into my legs a little bit better. My mechanics cleaned up a little bit. It was the first time I took it super, super serious, honestly. And it kind of took off. I went to camp throwing harder. I got noticed. I made the low A team out of camp that year. I absolutely dominated low A and went to high A, and I did well in high A too. And I went to double A the next year. And so pretty quickly I realized, I probably could do something if I just kept up the success I was having and stayed healthy.
Yeah.
But for me, being a lower level guy, sorry, my kids, I'm on the door over there. Being a lower round guy, it's like you can't really sit there and just worry about development. It's very much so about results. And you can give yourself a little bit of a cushion, and I did, and I never needed to use it, but I could have probably at some point. But I always was going to show up as ready as I could and more ready than the next guy so that I just looked better than when I got there. And that's what got me noticing on the team my first spring training. And I'm forever grateful I did that. Yeah. I'll never forget a phone call I got from this guy who drafted me, Matt Bonnell, who I mentioned earlier. And if he sees this, I don't know if he'll be happy with me telling it, but he calls me, and I had been at P3 and I was throwing live bullpens before I went down to spring. So I was throwing early. I was throwing on different programming they had wanted me to, but I was doing what I needed to get ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was getting ready too quick, but I wanted to come down there throwing 98. I wanted to turn heads so I could go make a team type of thing. And they had done a live Instagram live of our bullpens that night. And I guess some people in the Pirates organization had seen it, and they were not super happy that I was not following the program. And I was already throwing at that velocity against hitters, and I was not supposed to be there yet in my program for that off season. And he calls me and he says, what are you doing, man? Like, some people are pretty angry and upset that you might get hurt, and you just don't need to be doing that right now. And I kind of took it at first, and I was like, yeah, okay, like, I'm sorry, tell them it's my bad, whatever. And we talked for a few more minutes. I hung up the phone, and then I was sitting there, I was talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, you know what? Like, no, I'm doing this for a reason. Like, screw that. And I called him back, and I was just like, hey man, like, you can tell whoever's mad, if they're going to sit here and tell me I'm going to double A and I'm guaranteed a spot on the team, or I'm going to triple A and I'm guaranteed a spot on the team, and they want to make me these promises, then yeah, I'll stop throwing. But if you want me to be who you are looking at now, and I'm going to do everything I can to be as ready as possible, and I'm not going to apologize for that. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do to show and look good. And crew, hey buddy. And sorry. And
my kid will come here do the same thing sometimes. I put it on the movie so they don't come down.
Absolutely. But he hung up. He was like, all right, cool, whatever. And I just found out later, he's like, dude, I was talking to him probably a couple of years later at that point. He was like, dude, that fired me up so much. Like, I got off the phone and I called him and I was like, this kid's ready. Like, he's
nice.
He's saying the right, like, and so like, I wasn't doing it for that reason, but like, that's what it ended up being for me. And it was a mentality type thing. Like, I don't care what anybody else is doing. I need to do what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it always brought me in ready for the season. So I'm glad I
Yeah.
did it, you know. But that's the way I looked at it, was like I did not have as many opportunities to waste, and so I needed to take full advantage of what I had.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love hearing that. Hopefully that helps other people kind of listening too. You talked about throwing and hitting 98. What's the hardest you've hit? And like, do you know, and obviously everybody wants to hit velocity now. Like, what is your
Yeah.
advice for people who want to throw harder? Because obviously you were able to gain a little bit of
Mhm.
velo.
Yeah, I've been over 100 quite a bit. Not for a little bit now. This was back in like high double A,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, you know, I've been up to I think 99 in the big leagues. But the highest I ever hit, I think I got a 101 in double A at the end of the season, which was
Nice.
just me throwing it. I mean, it
Yeah.
absolutely as hard as I could. Like no regard. It was probably like 0-2, 1-2, no regard for where the ball was going. Just literally throw as hard as you can, see what number you can put up. My best advice for someone trying to throw harder is if you don't have the base and the foundation for you're probably going to get hurt in the end trying to do it that way. If you're just trying to throw as hard as you can, I think it starts with movement patterns in the weight room and just being as strong as possible. And strength is in everything. Mobility, fluid movement, your mechanics are important.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many small patterns and movements in a pitching delivery that can make or break you. And I go through this stuff all the time where, you know, you get a little out of funk, a little out of sync, and you gotta work on a couple of things to not open up so quick. I mean, there's a ton of things that can hinder your velocity, and there's a ton of things that can help your velocity that you don't even realize you
Mm-hmm.
do. There's some guys who sit in their hips, so they sit in their back hip so well and push, and they've never tried to do it in their entire life. That's just how they throw a baseball, and they naturally throw hard as hell because they just move that way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, being hypermobile for a lot of pitchers is something you can't teach either. It's just who you are as a
Yeah.
person. It's how you move, and that always helps elasticity. But if you want to start somewhere and you feel like you've got a good foundation for it, uh, working on taking everything right at the catcher and being able to move a lot of weight in the weight room is my two biggest things, because the arm should just be along for the ride if you're doing everything right. Your arm needs to be strong, obviously, and you've either got that or you don't. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe that you can gain 10 miles an hour from throwing plyo
Mm.
balls and all that stuff. I think there's a ceiling on all that.
Sure.
There's a ceiling that your body puts on you because of it knows what it can handle for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but you can always get stronger. And I think in the youth side of things, you know, 15 to 18, 19 years old, there's a lot of room for improvement there,
Mm-hmm.
and just directional movement. Plyo balls are a good way to do that kind of thing. And there's definitely some velo to be gained by cleaning up your arm mechanics. That's really what it's great for, in my opinion. Uh,
Yeah.
I always have a hard time telling people exactly how to throw hard, because it's like I said, like
Different for everybody too.
you just do it, you know, type
Yeah.
of thing. It's hard to explain. I do the best I can to put it into words when I used to work with kids too, but sometimes it's hard to, you know.
Yeah. When you hit 101 or 102 that first time, obviously
Mhm.
you said you were just throwing, like, what was that feeling like? Because obviously it's a goal that so many people
Yeah.
have to hit triple digits. Like, what was
Mhm.
that emotion and feeling when you finally hit that?
Yeah, that one I didn't really know in the moment. The first time I hit it though was in high A the year before, and I was one of my good buddies was sitting on the bullpen with me. He just gotten called up, Jordan Jess, and I think I was just sitting out there and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna hit 100 today." Like he's like, "Shut up, no, you're not." And I went out there and I just did it. I hit 100 and I came in and he was just like, "You mother!" Like, and it was just one of those things where Florida's hot. It was a
Mm-hmm.
good time of the year later on in the season where arms at full strength, body was feeling pretty good. You get hot when you stand up to go start throwing. You don't even have to do anything to get
Mm-hmm.
your body moving the right way. And I was trying to throw just as hard as I possibly could at that time in my career as well. And you know, it was going well. There's a lot of confidence going through me too. I gotten called up. Everything was going right. And so I think that plays a lot into it as well. Your confidence in what's going on up here
Yeah.
is sometimes more important than whatever's going on with your body. And so all those things together kind of it just happened, and it was a testament to the hard work I put in for sure. But I was blessed with an arm that could do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty damn cool. I won't lie.
Yeah.
You know, it's seeing three digits up on the board is it's something a lot of guys, like I said, a lot of guys dream of, and
Yeah.
it's really cool when it happens.
So let's talk about your call up. You obviously get called up to by the Pirates, and how did they tell you that you're going to get promoted to the major league? And like, what was that whole emotion and feeling like? Obviously, you go from not really being a baseball player to now you're drafted twice, and now you're in the majors.
Yeah. Uh, I was in AAA Indianapolis, and my fiance had just graduated college, and she was going to come stay with me for the first time in my baseball
Hmm.
career. And she got there that night, and we went to bed. And then I got a phone call. I don't know what time of night, probably 11:30, midnight ish, from our farm director. And he just said, "Hey, we can't get a hold of your manager. We don't know where he is, but that's why I'm calling you right now. But you need to get on a plane in the morning. You know, you need to go to San Diego, meet the team. I need you up there." And when I saw his name pop up on my phone, I was like, I looked over at my fiance, and I was like, "Hey, it's either a really good call or a really bad call, you know, type of thing." And it was a great call. It was one of the coolest, just realization moment, I think, of everything you've been doing to that point and everything you've been worried about,
Yeah.
and just stuff you think about all the time for years to finally happen. And then yeah, I got on. I don't think I slept maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours that night. And it was out. We were in Indianapolis, and we had to go to San Diego. And my sister and her boyfriend, now husband, drove from Arizona out there. My dad and my stepmom flew out from St. Louis, and my wife flew from Indianapolis after me out there. So everybody made it out.
Hmm.
And I did not throw the first night when I got there, thank God, because dude, I was so tired.
Half
Like
asleep.
I was sitting out in the bullpen, and I was so jacked up the first like six, and then it was like a really close game, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, man, I hope I do not throw right now. Like, went back and passed out that night, and then the next day, fresh under you, you woke up, go have breakfast. It was a normal-ish kind of day, even though time change and everything was weird too. But yeah, went to the park that night and got into a game. You know, we were out four in the ninth inning, and I came in and got to finish her off. So I got one, two, three. It was really, really
Wow.
cool. San Diego is a beautiful spot. It's a beautiful park. It was a great place for the family to be, and
Hmm.
everyone being there made it even more special. So it's a great memory I'll always have. And
Sure.
yeah, it was really freaking cool, man. It's just it was really cool.
Do you remember the first person you faced in shutout?
Oh yeah, Ian Kinsler, 98 mile an hour sinker. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And it was like,
It's cool.
and you said, did you get the save or was it just, you good?
No, we're up by four, so I
Okay.
was one run away. I don't think I'd been put in probably my first game if it was a safe spot, but they
Yeah.
trusted me with four. Then yeah,
Wow. Ian Kinsler, 98 sinker.
yeah. Ian Kinsler, Manny Machado, Franmil Reyes in order. Yeah,
Those are some names too. Like it's not just,
yeah. Machado, I think I got him the ground out maybe, or maybe pop out the first. Him and Franmil did one or the other.
yeah.
But yeah, and people always ask me, how nervous I was that first time doing it, and like what was going through me. And
Hmm.
a lot of my teammates who had been up before, they were like, when you got there, like don't look up, don't look up at how bright the
Right.
lights are and like how big everything is. But one of my things that always sets me, it's like a reset type thing, is I get out
Hmm.
there and I take a big deep breath, and I look around, and
Sure.
I always look at the left field foul pole. I don't know why, it's just what I do. It's something they put into us when we were at the Pirates. It was like it was a trigger type thing, I guess, but it's where I always looked, and I did, and it really didn't bother me. And was not nervous really in the moment. It was just kind of a thing where like I wasn't thinking about being in the big leagues. I was just thinking about I got to get these guys out.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I remember parts of it and I remember what was happening, but it was so much going on at the time that like you just kind of black out and it happens. And then all of a sudden you're getting tossed the ball and the third out just happened and you're slapping hands and going in. And I've been nervous, and I get nervous still throwing now. It's funny. I probably get more nervous now sometimes than I really did then because
Yeah.
everything was just, you're so not used to it. It was just happening. You let it
Hmm.
happen till you enjoy it. And I actually went back to back. It was the first time in my career I'd ever gone back to back. I pitched again the next day in like the sixth or seventh inning, and they never get you ready for it. It just kind of
Yeah.
happens, and it happened in the big leagues to me, and it went well again. So it was an awesome first series. Yeah.
That's awesome. What was that moment for you when you realized, like, all right, I'm in the show now, like off the field? Like, I've talked to guys like, yeah, I got Chick-fil-A nuggets on the plane. I'm like, okay, this is kind of nice, or whatever it may be. Like, what was that
Pretty much
moment
the
for
same.
you?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, man. When you get on the bus, it was that trip. You get on the bus, it takes you to the private part of the airport. You don't go to security. You just go hop on a plane with just the team. And there's, people on there handing you whatever you want, beer, soda, food, snacks. You get your own row. And it's just
Yeah.
cool. I don't know how to explain it besides like, show planes and show trips they're show trips. That's why they're called that.
Yeah.
They take care of you well. They treat you right. And, one of the biggest things people might not talk about is like you get to share a room in the minor leagues and the hotels when you travel. And then you get to the big leagues, everybody gets their own room. And
Mm-hmm.
like that for your mentals, like it's just going back to a place where you don't, it's nice to be able to talk to your teammates and do stuff and hang out with them, but you see
Mm-hmm.
them all the time. And so going back and being able to have a space to your own every night and not having to pay for it on your own is
Mm-hmm.
like awesome. And once you get used to it and you got to go back down to AAA and then you have to
Yeah.
start paying for your own room again, that sucks. But
Yeah.
like it's that's probably the two coolest parts is like you show up. I'll never forget showing up to Houston for the exhibition series that year. I flew with the team. I wasn't on the roster yet before the season started, and we show up to a super nice Ritz Carlton. Or maybe it was a Four Seasons, one or two. They're both nice. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You walk in and it has my name on the TV and it says, like, welcome, Geoff Hartlieb. And I'm like, man,
That's
they don't
kind of
put those
cool.
up on the Holiday Inns when you're going to Lexington, Kentucky. But it's moments like that I'll always remember because it's the first time something like that happens. It's really cool. No
Yeah.
doubt.
No, for sure. What was your favorite? What has been your favorite city to play in? As a major leaguer.
I'm probably a little biased, but Pittsburgh is freaking cool.
Yeah.
It's one of the coolest backdrops in baseball. You got the bridges in the background. You go to the top of the stadium by those press boxes and the view you can see. Walking out of the dugout every day and seeing the cityscape skyline out there past right field. I mean, it's hard to beat, and the
Yeah.
city's cool itself. And the fans, they didn't love us a lot of the time when we were there, just because we weren't super successful.
Mm.
But they were still good fans, man.
Yeah.
They care a lot, and you could always feel that, even if they were frustrated, and that was why they were saying what they were saying. Not always frustrated at us, at everything else going on too. Uh, so I'm always gonna say Pittsburgh's up there. Colorado is a very cool park. It's a cool city, obviously too. Denver, but Colorado I liked playing in, and I mean, for me, St. Louis that's where I'm from, and the first time pitching on Busch Stadium mound was arguably cooler than my debut. Walking out there, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my friends and family, a lot of people from my hometown came, all my buddies, and hearing them cheering when I'm running out as an away player, and like it went well. You get off the mound, it's just like, dude, that was freaking cool. I've been to so many games in that park and watched it from the stands, and
Yeah.
then watching guys like Pujols, Wainwright, Yadi, Colton Wong. I know Colton now, and I faced him a few times when we worked out together a little bit during COVID, and getting to face Yadi multiple times, Wayno, and I got to face Pujols when he's out in Anaheim, actually out there. And so all those experiences together from like my childhood coming up, and then just them being your peers almost. And I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
say I'm like Yadi's peer and Wayno's
Yeah.
peer
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
Poole. I'm not their peer, but like I'm playing the same game as them at the same level,
Right. Right.
And so yeah, I mean nobody can take that away from you. It's some of the coolest. I mean, for the rest of my life, I'll get to say things like that. And so that's a cool perspective I get to have for sure. And so I would say St. Louis, and then I don't know if you've ever been out to LA, Dodger Stadium, but
Mm.
it's a freaking party out in Dodger Stadium. They have the vibes are just different out there. You walk in the park, you walk in the city, and you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
It's LA. It's
Yeah.
fast. I mean, stars are out. It's cool. That stadium is really, really cool. The view you got from the top of it too. You can see out on the whole valley and everything. It's awesome, man. Yeah, there's some really cool places you get to go experience when you play in this game, for sure.
That's so cool. What was that first feeling of like seeing a fan wearing your jersey, a jersey with your name on the back of it? Maybe it was
It's
your
so
wife
cool.
or family,
No,
but
no, no. It
still,
was
just in
I
general.
mean, I'm sure that was the first person I saw,
Yeah.
but like the first person I just saw like a kid, I was like, man, it's really cool. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the only way to say it, really, is like because those are few and far between for a reliever, especially, but a guy
Yeah.
like me too. Like it's if anyone ever, I always say it to anybody, like, you have a lot of people asking you for stuff, autographs, balls, this, and they're always yelling at you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If anyone ever knows my name when I'm walking by and they get Mr. Hartley or Jeff, whatever, I'll stop every damn time and sign for them.
Yeah.
I'll stop every time and do whatever. I'll take a picture, say hi, whatever, because that's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a lot of people get to experience that feeling, and it's a cool thing when you do. I got a picture from one of my wife's cousins, and her kids were out by the bullpen in Busch Stadium when I was pitching there. And it was them wearing my jersey, just watching me run out into the game. And I mean, pictures like that are just it's
Yeah,
cool. It's
that's
just
so
really,
cool.
yeah, it's one of those things that you don't know how cool it's going to be to you till it happens and you see it. And it's like, man, that's something you work for right there. And then
Yeah.
there's some responsibility that comes along with that kind of thing too. And I like that kind of stuff. I think it's a cool position to be in, sure.
Yeah, for sure. What was who's been your favorite, your our most toughest at bat? Maybe somebody who's like, I cannot get them out, no matter what team I'm pitching for, no matter where it's at.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, you could pretty much say any like contact first lefty is not hard for me, but like they give me my toughest at bats. But we have a guy named Jake Mangum here in camp who was at the Mets last year and just got over to the Marlins. I think he got traded here actually, but I was talking to him when we were down here early, and I was like, "Dude, I hate facing you. Like, he's a shorter guy. All he wants to do is put the ball in play. He fouls stuff off. He walks all the time. Like guys like that just are pestery. They suck to face. I'd rather face a guy who he's trying to hit a home run.
Mm-hmm.
You can exploit that to a certain extent. There's obviously exceptions to that statement, but you can exploit things like that. But Yasmani Grandal, when he's with the Brewers, I faced him quite a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and he would take me to 7, 8, 9, 10 pitches all the time, and then flick a little slider over the second baseman's
Yeah,
head or hit one the opposite way. He might not be the best hitter in the big leagues, but he's a damn tough out for me.
yeah,
And I always like to say Christian Yelich is with my agency, and so he's in the agency. I'm in the agency, but I faced him quite a few times with the Brewers as well, and I'd like to think I won that battle. I think we faced probably 6 or 7 times, and I have 4 or 5 maybe strikeouts against him.
nice.
But he hit one. He deked me into throwing a slider in, and he hit it out of the stadium in PNC into the river. So he's got me on that, but I've
Yeah,
got quite a few strikeouts against him too. So that's always a fun. It's fun for me to face a guy like him, and he's gotten me, and I've gotten him. So yeah, I'd say those two off the top of my head. I know they're both Brewers
yeah.
from up by you, and I just gotta say Miller Park. It's always gonna be Miller Park for me, but it's an awesome place to play too. I really like the city of Milwaukee. We've always said we would play there if we could.
Yeah, no, and once you get to the majors again, like I don't know when the Marlins play here, but like
Mm-hmm.
I'll circle that day on my calendar for sure, and I'll be
Absolutely.
there. Yeah, no, for
Cool.
sure.
Yeah.
Let's kind of end on this. What has maybe been like the toughest? What city has like the toughest fans? Like the chirpiest? I've talked to guys who, like, said Philadelphia, obviously New York,
Mm-hmm.
the White Sox. Someone told me that they had pretty chirpy fans. In your experience, what was maybe like the worst area to play in terms of like fans?
It's in the big leagues. I'm gonna say
Yeah,
probably Wrigley Field, which is a great place to play as well. The
yeah,
friendly, not so friendly confines at
yep,
times. We were playing the series there in 19. We were just getting spanked. I mean,
yeah.
we lost by football scores that series. And I pitched in one of the games. I came in, we were down by like 10, I think. Waka Flocka at parties going on the speakers. The place is rowdy. They just hit a couple home runs that inning. And I came in first pitch, Castellano doubled off the wall. And I was just like, all right, this is what we're doing today. And like, they give it to you in Chicago.
Yeah.
They know that about that. They do. But I've always said that the hardest place to play with opposing fans getting on against the minor leagues at any level. The emptier the stadium and the
Mm-hmm.
drunker one or two guys are,
The louder they are.
the worse it is
Yeah.
for you if you're pitching and it's not going well. I mean, nobody else is talking, so everybody hears exactly what they're saying. And a lot of guys like to come down to the bullpen, especially in the minor leagues, and just talk, 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 and
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, I've got some stories about some of my buddies. They weren't necessarily doing it to me, but getting after them, and it's just like it gets to the point where it's like, dude, just hey, we're gonna have a problem if you don't stop talking.
Yeah.
Like, but there's nobody down there. There's no security. There's no nothing. It's just, dude, they can do whatever they want. I mean, to
Yep.
a certain extent, you can't do anything. So the minor leagues is harder than the big leagues in terms of
Yeah.
in person that at that time. I've never played in Yankee Stadium, and I'm sure it's brutal there. I have played at
Mm-hmm.
Citi Field, even though I was a Met. They I got some not so kind words from the Mets fans, but yeah, those are cities like that in Philadelphia are always going to be tough. But nothing compares to Delmarva. Like they're just random places in the minor leagues where some guys are just letting you wear it.
Yeah.
Charleston, South Carolina, I remember was a night where there was some like group of 10 college guys right behind our bullpen, and man, they for no reason. And after the game, as soon as it was over, they were like trying to shake our hands, like, "Hey, man, it was all in good fun." I'm like, that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Like, no one down here wants to do anything but just hit you, man. Like
Yeah.
just go, just get out of here. I'm not shaking your hand. So yeah, I'd say the minor leagues is tougher.
Yeah, you're not even joking because I've been to minor league stadiums and they're so small. The fans are like right on you.
Dude, they can
Even
touch
when,
you. I mean, they
yeah,
touch you. Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy.
Even when I was in St. Pete this past weekend watching the Rays and the Twins, there was a group of guys next to me. And the whole game, they just picked one player. It was a first baseman. I don't know who he was, but they just focused on him. And the whole game, they were just yelling and chirping. And then I went out to eat with a couple guys after. I'm like, could you hear them the whole time? They're like, yeah, we heard every single thing they're saying. And I'm like, that's crazy.
A guy gets a $20 ticket and, pays $10 for a beer and they think they can say whatever they want. And I mean, to a certain extent, they're not wrong. It's, the game is played for the fans. It's there for their experience and everything.
That's true.
It's unfortunate that it comes with stuff like that sometimes, but it's just part of it too, and you guys have thick skin to play this game. And, you get paid a lot of money in certain situations I'm not saying that's your job is to take the abuse or whatever, but like, you can take it. There's some stuff that crosses the line for sure at times, and it's happened to me too. And you just be like, "Hey, man, just like, no more of that."
Yeah.
And sometimes there are security guards who can help you out and get them out of there, but sometimes there aren't, and you don't have much of a choice besides just go out there and perform. Hopefully, your name gets called and you get to go in the game. And you don't got to hear them anymore. That's best case.
Yeah. Well, let's end on this. I mean, obviously, I'm excited to talk to you. This has been super cool. I mean, it's been about an hour. I don't want to keep you too long. But like, what should Marlin fans know about you? Like when you're not playing, obviously you have a family, young kid. What is something about you that maybe fans don't know about?
Shoot, what haven't we talked about? The basketball. Are
you like a sneaky chef or something?
No, the basketball thing is usually my go-to. And with that question, we already hit all that. No, I mean, I got my 2-year-old son, Crew, my wife, Elise, and our dog. We have a 65-pound, big, white, fluffy Samoyed who travels with us too. That proves to be difficult at times as well. But I mean, other than that, I'd say there's not a ton to know about me besides, I don't know. I don't like to go out and do much. I hang out with the family all the time. I don't golf well. I do golf.
Okay.
And I like to go out and hit it around with the guys. I have a lot of fun doing that, actually. I mean, other than that, I try and work as hard as I can. And, I don't really have much else on that front. It's, family first for me. I spend all my time doing that when I'm not at the field. And, we get into Netflix and right now we're watching Succession, on HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
We're seeing it, but we get pretty deep into shows. And that's all we get. There's not much else to do when you're in these random cities, all year long. So you fall into stuff like that, but we do watch a heck of a lot of TV in the South. That's for sure.
No, that's for sure. That's what's up. Well, hey, I want to thank you for coming on. I mean, it's been a pleasure getting to talk to you and get to know you a little bit more. And excited, like I said, once you're here in, whenever you get to Milwaukee or Chicago, wherever any Midwest town that's kind of close to here, like I'm definitely going to circle those days on the calendar and go watch you pitch for sure. You might be hearing me chirping. I might be. I'm just Googling some chirps.
Give me your worst, man. Go ahead, do it. I've probably heard it before, so it's no big deal.
No. This is the official Geoff podcast now. I mean, like, I got your back. If I see, I tell all the guys on the pod, like, if I see people chirping, like, I'm going to chirp back. Like, this is like your official burner account now. Like, I'm going to just start clapping back at guys.
I got a friend who will remain nameless who has a burner account for me on Twitter, and he goes at people who come at me. So, yeah. I got one in my back pocket now. I got two. I'm doing
whoever that guy is, like we'll tag team, and we'll clap back for sure.
Perfect. Sounds good, man.
All right, man. Well, hey, you enjoy the rest of your night. And again, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.